whereas refrigeration avoids fresh air. I mean, refrigeration for cold storages, that avoids fresh air, whereas air conditioning likes to have fresh air. I have a lot of difficulty, Nilanjana, in hello, can you hear me? Can you hear
sir?
me?
Very clear, sir. Very clear. Very clear.
Hello. My slides are not moving. My slides are not moving. Okay, that's fine.
Sir, you
right.
will have to just, yeah. It is all very clear. Please go ahead.
I have a MacBook. It's clear, right? So air conditioning ends where cold storage temperature range starts. That means where the air conditioning ends where cold storage temperature starts. Air conditioning ends at about, let's say, 22, 23, 24. The cold storage starts from that, and then it goes down up to -10. So these two are quite different from each other, although their fundamental is refrigeration. So the advent of refrigeration, I would like to say, the Royal Society, the Academy of Science Committee in UK, sat up with a couple of very top scientists and academicians, and they said, what are the top 20 innovations in food that have impacted the world? And at number 2 was pasteurization. Milk pasteurization, egg pasteurization. There are a lot of pasteurization, but overall process of pasteurization impacted the whole world's food chain. At number 3 is canning. At number 4, oven. 5 is irrigation. 11 is fermentation. 12 is fishing net. 16 is spork. Spork means spoon and fork. At 19 is microwave oven. And at 20 is frying pan. Number 1 is refrigeration. This is from the Royal Society. So coming to India, if you look at the Indian scenario, you will be surprised, and many of you may not knowing this, that the capacity of cold storage in our country is the highest in the world. Look at this graph. On the x-axis, you have large cold warehouses to store their food and beverages. And on the y-axis, you have their capacity in terms of the volume, which is million cubic meters. India has 150 million cubic meters. US at 131 and China at about 100. So many years back, when I was in China, they were almost neck to neck with us. This is 2018 report. The person who wrote this report, the University of Texas, Austin, in the US. So we met and we were discussing this particular report. So India is really having a very high capacity of cold stores and thereby a very high capacity of installed refrigeration. However, almost 60-65% of this 150 million cubic meters is going mainly to storing potatoes. West Bengal is a very big state. I mean, a lot of cold stores, especially in Hooghly and that area, you have plenty of potato cold warehouses. So 3-4 states, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Punjab, and also Gujarat have a large amount of these potato colds. But the rest of the, so the rest 35-40% is across the entire perishable food chain. So let me give you an idea about what is the refrigeration temperature range and equipment complexity. So now when we say refrigeration, we all have an idea that it is lower than the ambient, So for ease, we have divided this whole refrigeration into 3 broad temperature categories. So if you look at cold stores and warehouses, there are temperature categories from left to right. If you go, the complexity increases. As the color of the box is increasing, the complexity increases. So temperatures 22 to 15, very simple refrigeration. The humidity is critical. is usually a low relative humidity because the applications for this temperature range are mainly for storage of seeds, for storage of confectionery, chocolates, or any bakery items. So these are in the region of 22 to 15. RH is generally low, especially for seed storages. You may need RH of as low as 20%. Then in the middle box that you see, the temperature of 2 to 8, this is a very, very big application. 2 to 8. The RH can be low, it can be medium, it can be high, or it can not have much meaning, as in the case of vaccines into vials. It require a temperature of 2 to 8. Covaxin, Covishield, all are traveling into 8 degree temperature range. This is a very, very big area. Almost, I would say, around 65–70% of our total, or even more, goes in this range. Then here, the requirement of refrigeration and the complexity of the system is quite medium, I would say. And then we move to the left, which is -20 to -30. The relative humidity there is not critical, but because it's all frozen. But the temperature criticality is very high. In the case of the second part is processing and packing. In processing and packing, we have process halls at 18 to 12, and temperature 0 to 4 degrees for for packing and for pre-cooling and blast chilling. These are other processes. For example, blast chilling is a process that is used for air catering. Fly, and that meal goes through hot and cold cycles by the time before it's actually served to you on the flight. So there is a process called as blast chilling. After cooking, the product is chilled very fast. So that is called as a blast chilling. Then we have temperatures of -30 to -40 for processing, something like blast freezers, individual quick freezers. So here the RH is normally not very critical, but then the temperatures and the rate at which the temperature goes down is very critical. Refrigerated transportation. In transportation, we don't have very specific temperature ranges. All the refrigerated is designed to set, you can set the temperature anywhere from +18 to -22. So it just depends on the setting, and the temperature is generated inside the refrigerated box on the truck. So here we have different types of containers. We have reefer containers, then we have reefer trucks, we have reefer vans, and then we have something called as LMO and an LN2. You must have heard the word LMO, that is liquid medical oxygen, and LN2 is liquid nitrogen. These come in flasks, and you might have seen several of these trucks moving on railway. Yeah. But can you see me now? Is it? Yeah. So you can. Okay. All right. So Nilanjana, just give me a feedback if you don't see me. Okay. Hello.
We can see you,
Hello?
but
yes, we see you fine, sir. Your screen needs to be shared once more, sir.
All right. Okay, so we are talking about the types of refrigerated transportation. Extreme right bottom corner green box. So here you see
could you kindly
so
this is Manish Tiwari this side. Could you kindly start sharing of your screen once again, please?
Okay, I will. Can you see it now?
It will start in some. Yeah, it is starting now. So it will take a minute. It will take a minute. Yeah. It is clear now. Thank you. It is clear now.
Okay.
Please continue, sir.
So we were here in this last Yeah, we were here in this last one. Here, multimodal transportation system I was talking about is that the same refrigerated container can move on railway. It can be then transferred onto a road, and it can then be transferred into a ship, and it can sail. So it can move on trains, it can be transported on the road, and then it can also move on the ship, the same container. This is called as a multimodal transport, depending on the journey and the different modes of transportation that are available, economically available. You can have this multimodal transportation. RO is a new technology which recently has come in, and Konkan Railway is using it extensively, and many other railways used it for transportation of oxygen recently. You can see a truck, the oxygen, liquid oxygen cylinder being put onto a train, and the train moves in an express corridor very fast. It doesn't have any stops. It will stop at the nearest place to which the oxygen cylinder needs to be transported, and it just gets off the train and it goes on the road and delivers. So this is the quickest way. Indian Railways did a great job in this. Then we have long haul intercity, that is between, let's say between Calcutta and Delhi. There could be, maybe apples may come from Delhi to Calcutta. That's a long haul. Then we have short haul intracity. Within the city, there's a transportation, cold transportation. Maybe ice creams need to be distributed to various supermarkets and goes in a small vans. And then we have multi-point deliveries. That means one small truck having 5, 6 deliveries or 10, 12 deliveries going to each of these units and distributing. So this is the transportation landscape. So I have given you the static cold storage and warehouse landscape. Then I have given you the processing and packing landscape, and then the refrigerated transportation landscape. Between these three, practically the entire refrigeration application resides in these three ecosystems. So which are the business segments that need refrigeration? Pharmaceuticals and medical diagnostics. Fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables as is harvested, that means just harvested pineapples coming from Kerala to Delhi, or coming from Manipur to Calcutta. Or they could be processed. That means they are diced, cut, frozen, and then the frozen product is sent. When I was working in Sri Lanka, we saw orange paste being frozen in Brazil and transported to Sri Lanka. The shelf life was approximately 18 months. And they used to reconstitute that paste with water and then some other preservatives, and then they made a ready-to-drink product. It was wonderful. So there is huge amount of business potential when we do refrigeration and then send the products. Then there is dairy. Of course, dairy is the biggest absorber of refrigeration in our country, from the first mile to the last mile. Poultry, meat and poultry products, huge. I'm sure all of you know Arambagh hatcheries. That was a project which I did for the refrigeration at Bolpur. I used to stay in Shantiniketan and do this project in Arambagh hatcheries. So poultry meat is developing like anything in the country. Marine and seafood requires refrigeration. Ready to eat, ready to cook, and then quick service restaurants. These are McDonald's, KFC types of restaurants, and then ready to eat and ready to cook foods like MTR, and maybe I don't know if Keventer Agro makes it, but yes, these are all the ready to eat kind of things that are cooked and then chilled or frozen, and then they are sent into the markets. Then flowers, confectionery, cakes and pastries. Floriculture is a very big market for Indian flowers, especially roses in the international market. So business operators and industries who operate temperature control systems, they need to have an uninterrupted supply of cold air or any other media like cold water or cold air. But that should be uninterrupted supply. There should be no gap, because these are all temperature critical products. Temperature critical products. If they are not under the right temperatures, they are likely to spoil. Especially dairy products spoil very fast. Fish spoils extremely fast. So vaccines, they may not spoil, but they become ineffective. The efficacy goes off. So it's very, very critical to measure, monitor and ensure uninterrupted supply. So that is where intelligence is required. That is where monitoring is required. And now we are entering into that area of measuring, monitoring, building intelligence into a refrigeration system so that it will give an uninterrupted supply. Now you'll see some slide, which is, can you see this? Refrigeration driven business owner sprayer. Many of you may be business people, right? Do you have a prayer? I'm sure. So God, let my investments bear multiple returns in the least of time. That's a basic prayer of a business person. Let my product portfolio be the most profitable. Let me forever be in demand and let me thrive in a seller's market. You know, we want to be in demand. We want to dictate the market. That's how every businessman thinks. But competition is a wall that they have to face and overcome. Let me have the best workmen and women to work for my firm. Who would not want? These are all the business owner's prayer. Let none of my best workers ever leave me for my competitors or for a holiday, for that matter. Now, let my machines keep working forever. Is it not our prayer? Let my car not fail. Let my batteries never fail. Let it work all the time. Let my machines use the least power and serve without fail. How is that possible? But then that's prayer. God, make machines intelligent that speak to me and tell me what is their problem. Let them tell me what is their problem. Now let me tell you something about innovation. Innovation starts when there is a prayer like this. Innovation starts when there is a prayer like this. And all our efforts to innovate and to build better products, better solutions, better ideas is all because of these prayers. If this prayer is not there, then there is no, let's take one. Let me have the best of workmen and women to work for my firm. That's a prayer. So we start innovating on that. What kind of people we should get, how we should get, from where. And all these 5W plus 1H we keep asking and building innovative ways of employing or innovative ways of keeping our machines always running. So this is the premise on which we build innovation. So a cold store owner, let's take for example, a cold store owner's prayer. His prayer, what is his prayer and what he actually receives? Higher uptime. He wants a higher uptime, but he gets frequent breakdowns. Many of you may be suffering this, or some of you may be suffering this. Many of you may be very smart and having a cold store that never fails, but I have not come across so many. Everybody wants a higher uptime and they get frequent breakdowns. Higher yields, that means higher productivity, but they get lower productivity. Lower power consumption. Every cold store owner wants a lower power consumption, but when he gets the bill, oh my God, he says, what's this? Gain customer confidence and loyalty. But what happens actually is they lose face. When they are booking, they will say, please keep your ice creams in our cold store. We operate at minus 23 degrees Celsius. And then that person comes, maybe whoever, Amul or Quality Walls or maybe other companies, I don't know. They come and keep the products there and there is a breakdown. And then there is a loss of face because ice cream has softened. May not have melted, but it has softened. So obviously loss of face. So this is what happens. So why refrigeration systems underperform or why do they break down? This is very important. Poor design. I'm sure many of you are from the air conditioning side and you may also be facing this issue. It's not specific because refrigeration is the fundamental, the basis of air conditioning also. So poor design. Poor design is that we have missed something in the design. I'll give you an example. A certain person had designed a cold storage for storing oranges. And while doing the design, they had forgotten to actually take the heat of respiration, which is one of the biggest guzzlers of heat. And you have to overcome that heat. And that was completely missing from the design sheet. It was an oversight maybe, or maybe the person did not know, we do not know, but it was a poor design. And because it was missed, they were unable to get the temperatures when the actual cold store was started. And they had to redo the entire refrigeration system. They had to add another system. And so that's a poor design. Next is under design. Under designing is not poor design. Under designing is that you are supposed to design it for an incoming product quantity of 100 tons. But because the client and the consultant decide, no, 60 is fine or 50 is fine, we will see later, they design it for 50 or 60. But then when they see the histogram of product that is coming in, something called as histogram. So every day, what is the product that has come in the last 1 year, or what has come in that particular region, or what is your business plan? Once you see that histogram, you will come to know what can be a very fine average or a slightly above average to take as the design value, as the design. So this is under designing. Under designing is very common. Right now, I am solving a problem in Ahmedabad for an under-designed set of cold stores, not one. There are 11, and they have lost quite a few compressors because of under-designing. Over-designing is more common, actually. Over-designing, if you are not sure, err on the right side, not on the lower side, err on the higher side. So this is a principle of over-designing. If you want to err on the higher side. So instead of taking 12%, 13% or 15% as the safety margin, go for 20, go for 25. No, we need to be very clear about this. And this can reflect in that, oh my God, electricity bills, over designing. Many people have got this problem. Poor SOP adherence, water quality. Examples, SOP is standard operating procedures. People don't adhere. Like now, even now in our country, many people do not adhere to the 3 things: mask, social distancing, and washing of the hands. 3 things, not much, just 3 things have been asked, but many people don't, especially in terms of mask and social distancing. Very difficult. So this is poor SOP adherence in our day-to-day operation of the refrigeration systems can cause a lot of problems. For example, water quality. I have seen in one case, we cut a water pipe that was supposed to send water to a shell and tube condenser. You need water for that. Certain gallons per hour or certain liters per second, say 5 liters per second, something like that. When we cut the pipe to find out, we found that we could only put 1 matchstick in that. There was only place only for that much. Everything else had got completely scaled. There was no descaling done at all. And then we went back to see the water quality was 600 ppm. So we need to monitor the water ppm level. Water quantity is another thing, or air quantity, air movement. Several things are there that impact the refrigeration system. But we have no way to know that. That intelligence is not there. At the moment, it is not there. It is more by experience rather than by equipment. So this is where the intelligence part comes into picture. Then we have missing or poor system components. There could be components that are completely missing. Example, vibration eliminator. It will cost you, yes. But then they say vibration eliminator, it is good to have. If you want, you can have it. If not, you can leave it. But that's not right. You need to have it because it will save you a lot of breakdowns in future, cracks in the brazings, etc. So missing or poor system components, even poor system components also, the class of pipes that are being used, the kind of brazing that is done, flaring tools versus some hand flaring, lot of places that can really impact. Design versus as-built, that's another aspect. Design versus as-built, we design like this, the pipe should go like this, and it should turn right or left, whatever. And then as built, they find there are some problems there and they take a deviation. That's the reason why you should always have a as built drawing along with the design drawing. There are deviations between as built and design. Very experienced engineers here in this audience will definitely know this, that there are a lot of variations between design and as built. So we should be aware of that. Lack of performance data. Now, why I put this in red is this is the premise or the foundation on which we build the intelligence system. Lack of performance data. How do we know what cannot be measured? It cannot be interpreted, it cannot be improved, it cannot be actually said with any authority unless you have data. Yeah, the data. You trust your foreman, but keep the data in front. That's very important. Trust your supervisor, fine, but let him show some data. Data is very critical, very important. So lack of performance data can impact the refrigeration system performance. They can underperform. They can even break down. If you don't have data, you don't know when it is going to break down. And that's precisely the reason why everybody wants to get as much data as possible from their machines. But are the machines giving that data? Let us see. Are the machines giving that data? And then finally, the last block. This is blank. I have kept it blank because several of you sitting there who are talking, who are listening to me, already you might have been having some ideas, and I have left that block to put it there. Were we sitting in front of each other, I would have probably given you the mic and said, what's your opinion? What do you feel? Do you want to add something to this? I would have definitely asked you this question, because this talk is not just my talk. It's also your talk, but you're not able to communicate, and I understand that. So I have kept that block as a mark of respect for all of your intelligence, your experience, so that you can fill that particular thing. So, this pandemic is really testing the limits of human relationships. It's a sad part, but then you have to go through it. Next slide. Unmet need. Now, the prayer that we heard there were all unmet needs. Those needs have not been met. If they were met, that prayer will go away. So we innovate on an unmet need. If you, in your personal life, in your professional life, list out 5 unmet needs, you will be able to better manage, because then you'll start thinking, what can I do to fulfill that need? How can I fulfill that need of mine? I have an unmet need and I need to fulfill it. So the unmet need of businesses right now in this particular talk is to make the machines tell us that it needs attention. The machine, the refrigeration system has problems. I'll give you an example. Recently, there was a cold store, frozen, -23. And its evaporator was wanted to tell the owner, I'm choking, ice is freezing on my face everywhere. I'm choking, I'm not able to breathe. But he was not able to tell. And then one day, the evaporator fan that was moving in front, the ice built up to such an extent that the fan hit the ice and it stopped working. It burnt, the fan motor burnt. That was the time when they came and found out that there is something wrong, some smell, and then they got in and they found the whole evaporator was frozen. The evaporator could not tell. It could not tell the owner or the engineer or the technician that it was facing a problem. It needs attention. So need to know on a real-time basis is why a particular effect is happening or why it is not happening. If there is an impending failure, impending means something that will come in future, three weeks down the line, 8 days down the line, or maybe a month down the line, we should be able to know beforehand. Failure or malfunction prediction, that's what we call predictive. Historical events and the probability of events. In the past, what has happened and what is likely to happen? How are the trends operating? How are the trends? Many years back, 32 years back, when I was operating an ice cream plant, my room was next to a very large tank of brine tank. There was a huge agitator that was to make a racket and a sound throughout the day. But after some time, I was getting a headache because of the sound. But after some time, I got used to that. and that sound vibration was in my ear. The moment it changed, I knew that the bearing has gone. It was a Timken taper roller bearing, extremely expensive. The moment that sound changed, I used to tell my foreman, check that, I want it removed. And removed it, and they found that it had gone. This was happening regularly over 3 to 4 months period. And later on in my diary, I started noting that this is happening, the next may happen so and so. See, this is a very, very old time. This is only by observation. But then now we should build intelligence that it should tell us well in advance. Advise interconnectivity of systems to arrive at cause and effect. The cause is somewhere and the effect is happening somewhere else. This is exactly what the doctors also will find out of our body if we go and tell him that I am having some pain, body pain, headache, or maybe stomach pain. The cause could be somewhere else. They ask you for a blood test. They ask you for, this is all gathering intelligence and then building a diagnosis. So this is exactly what we do, building a diagnosis on the basis of cause and effect. Then advise on preventive measures. Then we should build an intelligence system that can advise on preventive measures, on predictive measures, on alarms and actions. What is alarm and action? Alarm is a warning signal to say that in the next so and so time, this is likely to fail. And action is that if alarm limit is crossed and people don't see that alarm, then there's an action alarm and there's an action warning. And that action warning says, you have to do it now or in the next 2 hours, it is going to fail. So generally when the alarm warning sign comes on, they take a shutdown and they immediately replace that fan belt or whatever bearing or belt or maybe fan blade, etc. Then finally, as we go up and up in the hierarchy of intelligence, we will have act on its own systems, self-regulatory systems. They will have their own, diagnosis, and they will say, like, in washing machines now, you get a logic which says P10 or P5. That means there is something wrong there in that particular, and you can please check the filter. And if the filter is blocked, then you just clean the filter, everything gets reset. So this act on its own self-regulatory systems are very high-end systems. No manual intervention is required. So this is the fundamental of innovating on an unmet need. And the unmet need here is for the machine to tell us that it needs attention. So here the fundamental is lack of performance data. We need to get a lot of performance data from the machines, from the entire refrigeration system, and from the attendant collateral systems like ambient temperatures or the number of door openings, etc. All that needs to be measured, monitored, brought in, synthesized, how we do it. So innovating using the unmet need. So as I said earlier, innovation can happen if there is a customer unmet need, which is said in the initial prayer. Each one of that prayers, you can innovate and build a solution. To fulfill the customer's unmet need of making a refrigeration system intelligent and interactive, we have to innovate a system that can actually understand the language of the machines, that can understand and translate their conditions, that can understand and translate where they are faulting, that can understand beforehand where these machines are likely to fault. They are likely to fault, and then direct us to take action and so on. We can build that logic to the extent that our technical capability allows us to do it. And that's the reason why in the last slide, I will tell you why one person cannot do this, because the bigger that we do, the canvas on which we paint, if it's so big, then we need a lot of people for that. And how we do that? So what we need is a monitoring system performance to understand cause and effect. A thinking device and a solution that can perhaps be called as an intelligent refrigeration monitor. So let me tell you, across the world, innovators in various startups or even in very reputed global companies have already started working on this. Either they are collaborating with others or they are developing it all by themselves. Such intelligent solutions are being developed. I was a part of a very large global multinational just recently, just before the pandemic. And I was doing this work of developing this intelligent system when the pandemic struck, and then they all shrunk their operations and they shelved off several projects. And this was one of the projects that has been put on hold. So almost all these people, either startups or global companies, well-established companies, they are already using or they will use the principle of IoT, Internet of Things. This principle and technology they will use to develop these intelligent thinking, monitoring, and managing. So, intelligence of things. Oh, I said these are my words actually. Intelligence of things powered by the Internet of Things. Now, intelligence of things is the intelligence of the machines. And Internet of Things is a technology by which we understand the intelligence of those machines. And that's the reason why I call it as intelligence of things. IoT, intelligence of things, powered by the Internet of Things. Make machines more intelligent. This was my prayer to one of the multinational company's top heads, a vice president. I told him, why don't you make your equipment a little more intelligent? Let it send some signals to us. Real-time information from each component. We need to get from the system. From a pump, or from a compressor, or even from a wall, even from a pipe, saying that how much of refrigerant is flowing through it. Interconnectivity of cause and effect relationships, I spoke about it earlier. Normal and abnormal operations, at least initially, let us get a signal whether the operation is going on normal or there is an abnormality. It can be just an indicator to say that there is an abnormality somewhere. Fine, later on, you will get it when you go into the program and find out, you will get the abnormal operation. But at least on the top, there is something abnormal there in one particular area of the refrigeration system. Then performance analytics is very critical. Performance, how has it performed in the last week, last month, last year, for the past 3 years, or ever since we changed to a newer compressor? How has it performed? How has it performed earlier and now? So these are called as analytics, performance analytics. And predictive analytics is what is likely to happen in the future. These are two different things. Performance analytics is for the past. Predictive analytics is for the future. This is how it goes. So an IoT-driven automation should address the following relationships within the refrigeration ecosystem. First is within the refrigeration ecosystem space amongst the subsystems, condensing system, evaporating system, defrosting system, air delivery system, all these are the ones. At the component level, as I told you, individual components, what exactly is happening at the walls, at the compressors, at the fans. Then between refrigeration systems and the business operations. Business operations are increasing, reducing, they are all driven by the market. Can the refrigeration system also kick in according to the needs, according to the manufacturing? If you know that it is being loaded, that today there is a full load of manufacturing, immediately one additional refrigeration system will kick in and be ready to receive that. So these are all interconnected. Between refrigeration systems and the process system itself, that means, let's say, this is very critical in dairy industry. In the dairy industry, the process is very important where they need a lot of chilled water. So how much of it is required? One day it may be less, one day it may be more. So they draw histograms for all this. And based that histogram, they do a predictive requirement of chilled water. Between refrigeration systems and products in the cold warehouses, how the product should be kept, how should it be stored, how much is going to come, do we need 3 cold rooms or 2 or 1? Can we partition one large cold room to make it into 2 and just operate one system and then keep the other system as standby? All this can be done. Between refrigeration systems, products and reefer transportation, that means when you put it into the reefer van or truck, what size of truck do you require? Do you require a 32-footer or a 20 feet is enough today? We don't know. The moment you see the dispatch list, you can immediately say we need a 20-footer and not a 32-footer. Between ambient conditions and refrigeration systems, see, this is very critical. Ambients keep changing. And when they keep changing, they have an impact on the condensing. They have an impact on the refrigeration system. They have an impact on the discharge pressure. that all thing needs to be properly monitored and maybe made more intelligent, rather than somebody trying to say, oh, today the temperature has gone up, let me increase this, let me reduce that, let me increase the fan speed of the cooling tower, etc., right? Between the standard design parameters and as-built, commissioned, as-built and as-commissioned system, that is something which we need. I already discussed it earlier. And between refrigeration systems at different geographic locations, you could have 20 cold stores belonging to one single owner or one single corporate company. And they want to know which is performing the best and which is performing bad. They may have some qualifying band, average, below average, and above average, and really great, kind of 5-star. So basis that, they will incentivize their operators. They will find out what is wrong with the lower side, below average ones, and make improvements in that. Maybe training, maybe equipment malfunctioning is happening. So we need to get data for all this. So this is what is required. Now here, I would say we need the use of wireless sensors. I have brought in the first hardware equipment that we need in IoT and building intelligent systems, the use of wireless sensors. So what are the tools, technology tools and systems for an IoT-based intelligent refrigeration system? First is sensors, both wired and wireless. Today we are moving to wireless and we don't have so much of wired sensors. The next is communication protocols. How will they communicate? How will they communicate? The sensor is there inside the pipe or outside the pipe. It needs to communicate. So a communication protocol is required. Then we have data logging. That means the communication protocol allows data to be transferred from the sensor to a particular brain or a particular hard disk or whatever we call as a server or something like that. So data logging, transferring the data, and then analytics of that data and development trends. We need to work on that. Then we have CFD. CFD is computational fluid dynamics. Many of you may be working in that area. It actually tells us in a room, if you are blowing cold air, let's say air conditioning itself, for example, because many of you may be from the air conditioning field. I'll take that example. Air is flowing from one side and air is getting evacuated from the other side. It moves through a kind of hyperbola, parabola, whatever. So do you feel that all the places in the room having the same temperature? No, they don't. Same case in the cold stores also. The refrigerating system does not give the same temperature everywhere unless it is positioned and designed properly. So computational fluid dynamics will tell you where are the hot spots and how to adjust the evaporators. Not many people are doing this. We need to do this as we go future. That's another part of the intelligence to be built into the system. Okay, this is one. And the second one is this digital twin, which is a duplicate of the system that you have installed on the field. It is inside your office, inside on a computer, and you can do exactly what you want to do, and it will be a duplicate of what's happening there. So you can see inside your office what is likely to happen or what might have happened on the field. It's called as a digital twin. So these two are very powerful tools, especially the CFD is something which I have worked upon. And when I was doing some work on radiant cooling is much more equal cooling than forced air cooling in air conditioning. That's what some of the experts say. But then, yes, they have their own, plus and minuses. Predictive analytics. I had given a talk on predictive analytics 3 years back in RefCold. So predictive analytics is something that is coming up now. You will come to know whether the shaft seal is going to leak or whether the shaft seal is going to give off, wall reads, this, that, so many things. I mean, you can really do a very good predictive analytics. Predictive analytics can save up to 70% of your operational expense. That is what they claim. I don't know, that's what they claim. So predictive analytics is going to be a big intelligence tool in future. Algorithms, as you all know, they are required. If you want to understand intelligence of a non-living thing, a non-thinking thing, then obviously these algorithms will help build some kind of a logic. So machine learning and then artificial intelligence. How, I mean, do we all feel that we are very intelligent? Probably we are half intelligent. The other half has to come from the machines. The other half has to come from the machines. Once we get the intelligence from the machines, then we can be even more intelligent to understand how to overcome, where is the fault, how it can be done. Then we become extremely intelligent. But without getting any feedback from the machines or from the system, it is very difficult. Doctors are highly blessed because they have such a huge diagnostic business. They can find out every vein, every nerve, every millimeter of the body can be actually mapped, and it's easy for them to tell. So this is how it is. An intelligent refrigeration monitor. And finally, innovating towards an intelligent refrigeration system is not the job of one person. It's not the job of one person. If you have to manage an idea, and today what I have thrown is just an idea, and we can build this idea, we can develop it. To manage an idea and convert it into a commercial, profitable business, successful product or solution, it takes several people of different core competence to collaborate. You know, when I was doing personal cooling systems without any refrigeration, we wanted to build a cooling system for the body because the Safai Karmacharis in some of the hottest places in our country were falling unconscious. Some of them were dying because of the heat stroke when temperatures went beyond 41, 42 degrees, and they had to work throughout the day. So we wanted to build a kind of a vest or a shirt or a garment that can cool them when they are working. So believe me, I made the use of a doctor, and we went to meet the head of the department of medicine. And that lady, she's a very renowned doctor. She very gracefully agreed to give us free consulting. And we sat with her for 2 sessions to understand which are the parts of the body, the neck, and then some. She gave us about 7, 8 places where if you cool, the mind, the brain will understand that the body is cooling, and then its reactions will be different. So the body gets cooled, the people don't get into that thing called as a syncope, and we took that doctor's advice. So we need people of different core competencies to collaborate together to build this innovation. And we should do that without the fear of losing intellectual property. Very important. Because what we are going to develop and build will be good for the global business, and it will also be good for the world society. So with this, I thank you, and I wish you all a very happy World Refrigeration Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for that awesome. Thank you so much, sir, for that awesome presentation. I'm sure all the participants would have benefited immensely from this. Like promised, we have a fun quiz at the end of the session, and I would request all the participants to please be very active on the chat box now, as we are going to have, a very, very fun quiz now. Inviting our quiz master for the evening, Mr. Shubham Kangshavani, who is also the Zonal Chair Youth for Eastern India. Request Shubham, please take over. You are the quiz master for the evening, and request every participant to please be very active on the chat box, please.
Thank you, Nilanjana ma'am. And before I begin, I want to thank Manjunath sir. It was a very well-informed session that you have delivered with us. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. And before I start, so so before I start with the quiz, I want to mention that this trend we are following for all the distinguished lecture programs that we are organizing at ISRE Kolkata chapter. So for the last time that the DL program we had was with Mr. Manoj Chakraborty, our President Emeritus. So that result you will soon be able to see in our social media pages, and the winners will be informed. So this today this quiz is regarding is being done with a poll only. So now I'll be launching a poll. It will consist of only 5 questions. So all you just have to answer just over there, not in the chat box. And then at the end of the session, we will inform whoever the winner is. Okay, so I'll launch the quiz, and this is only for the members. So the non-members can also participate, but we will be able to recognize only the members, on the winning members only. Okay, so I'm launching the quiz. So it's live. I hope everyone is able to see. I request Nilanjana ma'am if you can confirm once if you are able to see the poll.
It's visible. The poll is visible.
Visible, right? We'll run this for 2 minutes. I request everyone to kindly go through the questions and give your answers in the poll box. We have already started receiving a lot answers from a lot of participants.
Interesting. This is very interesting.
Thank you, sir. And I must say that these questions were shared with us, shared by Mr. Manjunath sir only. So if you have heard him properly, only then you will be able to answer these questions, because these were not directly there in his slides. You have to very carefully listen to him to answer these questions. Thank you, sir, for the questions.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Sanelji, I will require 2 minutes after you finish this quiz just to thank everyone.
Yeah, sure, sir. So we'll be having the Q&A session, sir, after this.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So 10 more seconds. After this, we'll be ending the poll. Thank you. So I'm ending the poll now. Share the result. This is a general trend what we have seen in the answers.
Okay.
Yeah. So closing this. So now we'll be moving to the chat box. So if anyone is having any questions, please put it in the chat box, or you may raise your hand. We can ask you to unmute yourself and ask your questions also. Yeah. Is there any question from the team or from the participants?
You can raise your hand if you have any question, or you may write it in the chat box.
Sanelji, do you want me to comment on these answers and make some explanation on that?
Sure.
That
Yes,
will
sir.
be great, sir.
Please. Best is I'll once again relaunch the poll so that everyone can see the questions and can also get your answers. Yeah.
Fine. It's very interesting, very innovative. The way you have got the polling is fantastic.
Thank you. So the first question was, fresh air circulation is essential in cold storages. So answer has to be false.
Yes. So 17% I think got it right. If I'm not wrong, right? 17%. I was seeing the.
Yeah. So I closed that window. Yeah, probably. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
1 minute. So people are again giving the answers, but only the first poll questions. Yeah. So the next question was, how many countries in the world have more than 100 million cubic meters of cold storage capacity? So, sir, you want to give the answer and the country names?
Yeah. So let me give you the reply to the first question. Actually, fresh air circulation is. Yeah. Do you want me to explain that?
Yeah. Please, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
So for the audience, let me tell you, when you bring in fresh air into a cold store, it has a lot of moisture. That moisture gets condensed on the evaporator coils, and thereby the refrigeration effect goes off, or it is dramatically reduced. So we try to see that fresh air should never enter into a cold store. To a large extent, this above statement, fresh air circulation is essential in cold stores, is not true. is not true. Only in very, very few cases where we scavenge the air out because it contains a lot of carbon dioxide. This happens in potato cold stores. We remove the CO2 and we add a little bit of air. But fresh air circulation is never done in cold stores. Yeah, this is the slide I wanted. So second question, you can give your answer for that. So on the second question, Sanil, you want to tell them about the second question, the answer to the second question?
Shivam, you are muted. Please unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. Am I audible now?
Yeah,
yes,
you are audible.
Yeah. So the answer to the second question was actually 3, which is an unexpected number, because only India, USA, and I believe China is the third country to have this capacity of more than 100 million cubic meters. The third question was RO. What is the full form of RO basically? So that's roll on, roll off.
That's correct.
Here also we have received, 60% of correct answers were there. The fourth question was, what is the tool used for spotting the hotspots in a cold store room? So many have answered predictive analytics and many have answered CFD analysis. So, sir, is there any explanation you want to give, or should we just declare the
this is very clear that if you want to know the hotspots in a cold store, CFD analysis is the right way to understand that. You will know the velocities of air, you will know the temperature of air, you can get a color prediction, graphic of how the air is moving from blue to green to yellow to red. And red means extremely hot, yellow means warm, then blue and green. That's how it is.
Yeah.
So the answer is clearly CFD.
CFD analysis, right? And the fifth question, since it is World Refrigeration Day that we are celebrating today. So the fifth question was, who introduced this idea of celebrating World Refrigeration Day? So you all must be knowing that the first time we celebrated was in 2019. So this is the third year that we are celebrating World Refrigeration Day. And it was introduced by Stephen Gill. He is a refrigeration consultant from, I think, US probably. And Stephen Gill is the right answer from UK, right? From UK, yeah. So Stephen Gill is the right answer to this question. So with this, we'll close this quizzing session. Now, we have some questions in the chat box. This is from Mr. Shubho Shaha. He asks, how can we use released energy from refrigerators? What are the practical applications? Sir, can you find the question in the chat box to yours?
How can we use released energy from refrigerator? See, the refrigerator releases energy in the form of heat. Any refrigerator, whether it's a refrigeration system, will have two parts. One part which it takes the heat from the product, and the other place which actually it sinks the heat into the air. So that heat can be recovered, and in some places they are using that heat for drying operations, etc. But a refrigerator is pretty difficult because the volume of air heat that comes out is pretty low, and you probably may feel it on a winter day, but that really doesn't make any difference because of the size of the room against the size of the hot area. So I think from a refrigerator, I don't see much application, but from large refrigeration systems, it is possible to do this heat recovery. It is possible to do the heat recovery. So second question was, which are some of the companies who do predictive analytics or CFD? Oh, there are a couple of companies, but I don't have the names. All these people are working very much within themselves because they are still not ready with a complete suite of products. But if you have my email ID, probably send a mail to me. I can find out and let you know. There is one company in Bangalore which was doing it. Scientific or scientific something like that. I will find out and tell you, but please send me an email. This is to Shivaram. So Mr. Shivaram, please send me an email. I'll find out and let you know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the answers. Now we have a third question from Mr. Jay Nanda. So that is that he has sent privately actually. So the question is, what is the temperature requirement for tea leaf essence and RH for maintaining the essence and RH of tea leaves? That is what his question is. What is the temperature requirement for that?
Tea leaf. Oh, it
Yeah.
depends on the. Yeah. I got your point. It depends on how the tea leaf is packed in the first place. If it is a dry tea leaf, definitely you require a very low RH, but I think temperature is not so much of an issue there. You could probably have very normal temperatures, but RH could be an issue if it is an open pack. If it is a sealed pack, then it should not matter so much at all. I mean, you may not need so much of refrigeration to man. But if you are having green tea leaves and those leaves contain moisture, then your RH needs to be monitored according to the moisture level at which the product is currently there. Because the green tea leaf must be having a lot of moisture when it is actually plucked. But then as it gets cured or as it stays in the air, it loses its moisture. So at what level of moisture percentage in the leaf you want to maintain, that can define, and you should have a cold store or a RH system that can give you equivalent amount of relative humidity. Does that answer you?
I hope that answers his question. You can also, if anyone is having any other question, you can also raise. Yeah.
Is any real-life monitoring of
Please go ahead,
storage temperature at sub-medical? Yes, Gunjan Kumar has a question here.
Yeah, Gunjan
Kumar asks, is any real-life monitoring of vaccine storage temperature at sub-medical centers available in India for wastage reduction? Yeah, I think it's a very, very important question that you have asked. Honestly speaking, currently, there isn't much of real-time monitoring. What generally is done, these vaccine boxes have got a thermic ink or a thermic sticker that will change its color when the temperature goes up of that box. If the temperature of the box has gone up, then it changes its color. And then we can decide whether we should really go ahead or put it into a waste. If the temperature has gone up beyond a band and for a certain period of time, then they will junk it. If not, they maintain it. But that's a very, very, I would say, not a very accurate way of monitoring. There are companies that have started monitoring real time, but they are mainly into supplying solutions for transport refrigeration. For transport refrigeration, there are companies that are doing
that. Thank you, sir, for the elaborative answers. Gunjan sir, I hope that answers your question. So I don't find any more questions in the chat box. So with this, I'll proceed towards the closing of the event.
Shubham, I have got one thing.
Yeah, Manu sir.
I have got one thing to tell to MMS. MMS, thank you for one recommendation. The intelligence system should be wireless. Really, it's a good recommendation because my experience tells that in India, most of the intelligence system earlier fails due to wires only, bad cabling and wires only. So
yes,
it is a beautiful recommendation that it should be wireless as far as possible. Thank you, MMS.
That's all. Thank you so much, Manoj. Actually, I wanted to start my talk by thanking you personally because you are one of the stalwarts of refrigeration, air conditioning in India. And when you called me, I was really very delighted. And I said, I will accept it without any, this thing, because it is my pleasure and my honor, to be speaking to all of you. I really enjoyed this time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manu sir. Thank you, Manjunath sir. So with this, we'll proceed to, I request our Secretary of ISRE Kolkata chapter, Mr. Shankar Bhattacharya, to please deliver the vote of thanks. Shankar sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm audible. Hopefully, I'm audible to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, audible.
Really, it's an honor to offer a vote of thanks on this occasion, and that too on World Refrigeration Day. On behalf of our ISRE Kolkata chapter, on behalf of entire CWC team, I express a very hearty gratitude to our today's distinguished lecturer, Mr. Manjunath MS, for his valuable time with us in today's webinar. Thank you, sir. We have been really fortunate to have our President Emeritus, Mr. Manoj Chakravarti, in this program. It really encourages us and the other participants. Thank you, Manoj sir, for your presence. I'm thankful to all the audiences, senior members, members and non-members, faculty and students for joining and attending this interesting and most relevant topic of the industry in this virtual mode. We are thankful to Chapter President, Mr. Manish Tiwari, and President-elect, Ms. Nilanjana Mukherjee, for being with us throughout the program and supporting the team. Thanks to our program chair, Mr. Amitav Datta and his team, Shubham Banik and Siddhartha Majumdar, for their excellent coordination for this program today and prior. A special thanks to each of our sponsors for their valuable contributions to the society. I request the non-members who have joined today to come forward and enroll their names with ISHRE and be a part of our society. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned to ISHRE Kolkata chapter through various social media platforms for the upcoming activities and the webinars. We thank you for being with us. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Shankar sir. So with this and with everyone's permission, I request our backend team, Mr. Siddhartha Majumdar, to kindly close the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.